All right. Happy Tuesday, ladies and gentlemen. This is Rob, and I am back with episode number 342 of Shut Up and Grind, where we're all about overcoming obstacles. We're about defying the odds and helping you clear whatever is blocking your path to the success that you want in this lifetime. So, regardless of the platform that you're joining me on, either download, subscribe, share, like. If you have comments during the episode or if you have questions, feel free to put it in the comment section and I'll address them live. Or if you have a question for my guests will address them live. And if you're catching me on the podcast platforms, again, share. Because we share stories from people from all over the world. I've had guests from 6 of the 7 continents, and our audience spans 65 countries. So the things that I've heard since I've done this show, the things that people have gotten through, the breakthroughs that the audience has gotten from my guests, it's truly amazing, and I absolutely love doing this. And with that being said, before I bring my guest on, I want to share, because I believe what you put out into the world, you get back. I want you to be bold, right? I want you to try something new, take a risk. Like, I just joined a $15,000 program that I absolutely cannot afford, but I also cannot afford to not do this. Like, if I want my life to go in a certain direction, and if I want to have the type of impact that I want to have on all of humanity, like I want to help anyone that feels stuck, anyone that's afraid of public speaking. And I know going through this program is going to completely change the trajectory of my life. So if you're feeling stuck, you got to be bold. You have to look into that abyss, but stay focused on your goal. Long as you stay focused on your goal, whatever pitfalls come along the way, because it's never a straight line, right? You're going to have pitfalls, but you'll be prepared for them. And keep your eye on your mission. And again, my mission is to get people out of a rut, out of what other people told them, that they weren't good enough, or they're not pretty enough, you're not tall enough, you're not short enough, or whatever the setback is. You don't have to take that as your reality. Okay, whatever it is that you want to do, just take the steps, just get started, and you'll see the doors are going to open for you. So with that being said, so today's title is Widowed Not Broken, One Woman's Path Through the Fog. That sounds like exactly what this show is about. So let's welcome Lynn to the show. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Where are you joining me from?
From Virginia Beach, Virginia.
Virginia Beach. Nice. Are you born and raised, or are you a transplant?
I'm a transplant from Michigan, so I enjoy the weather and appreciate it very much.
Yes. Well, I'm up here in Rhode Island, so I know all about the harsh winters. Absolutely.
Yes, indeed.
All right. So tell me a little bit about yourself. How would you describe you?
I would describe me as compassionate, a strategic helper who is dedicated to helping people live their best lives and find ways to do that honors who they are and what they're about.
See, and that's huge, because I think a big reason why a lot of people get stuck is because they're into something that doesn't honor who they are. So I'm glad you said that. That's why I start every episode asking my guests, I'm like, who are you at your core? Because a lot of people, believe it or not, can't answer that question. That's why I started telling people before we went live, like, this is what I'm going to ask you, and this is what I want. Because maybe like probably 10, 12 guests in a row tripped up on that question. So like, I started the episode with ahs and ums. It's like, that's not a strong way to start. So, all right. So how did you get that as your mission?
I think all my life I've tried to do things that help people live their best existence. You know, I started out as a teacher right out of college, and then I got involved in corporate America, where I used my doctorate to do leadership development, and I became a coach. I've been an executive coach for almost 40 years, and everything I do is to help people find who they are, what their best fit is in their environment, and then how to be the best they can be in that environment.
Okay. And so what do you think the first step is?
The first step is recognition that you need some support.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what do you think holds people back from getting that support?
There's a number of things. Fear of facing the unknown, fear of facing themselves.
Yep.
Some people feel like they're embarrassed. They don't want to talk about some of the things that they're experiencing. Some people are reluctant to think about their emotional and psychological wellness. And some people just don't want to spend the time, energy, and money on improving themselves.
Yep. And I'll add one more to that is their circle. A lot of times the people's circle of friends is what keeps them. Like people, it's like the crab theory. It's like, like you want to escape and branch out, and the other crabs reach up and pull you right back into the bucket. And that's one thing. Yes, it's like one thing I preach all the time is about boundaries. Like you got to have boundaries, and when you set a boundary, don't budge from it. Right? You can't budge from it. Like I absolutely love my family, but like if I have things planned and they'll say, "Hey, we're gonna have a get together on Saturday," I'm like, I have things planned, and it's to the point now where they know, like they just know to not press me on it. Mm-hmm. Oh, thank you. Sorry, we got a comment up here on the screen. Love this, Robert. Before it's a great conversation. Oh, we're just getting started. We barely scratched the surface, but thank you. Yeah, so back to you again. So your mission is to help people live their best lives. So what's one of the biggest things that you've seen in your travels that holds people back? I know I just asked you a version of that question, but I want to expand on
it. We're too busy chasing the almighty dollar and trying to climb the corporate ladder, trying to be popular, whatever it is for us. And we are torn in so many different directions in our society right now, and burdened by the grief that we carry that we don't even know we're carrying from the loss of our life before COVID and everything that's bombarding us by the minute in our society today, that I think it is hard for people to do any self-exploration. They're just trying to get through the darn day.
Yeah, true. And distractions, like you go out anywhere in public, everybody's face is in their phones. The human the human interaction.
Absolutely,
it's becoming a lost art. But
it is, and that community, that sense of community, is just so imperative to one's well-being.
Yes, absolutely. So you said the first step. No, I'm sorry. That's not where I wanted to go. You said that people fear themselves, right? Let's go deeper into that. What does that mean to you?
That means to me that it's difficult for many people to face and evaluate who they are without being so critical, but to find out who they really are at the core. We are all probably guilty of experiencing the imposter syndrome because we put ourselves out there as person A and person B is inside of us, and sometimes we don't let it out. Sometimes we don't even make friends with it. And so people can be fearful of that.
True. It's like I tell people all the time, if you want to make a pivot in your life, stop Googling stuff, right? Just go to your subconscious mind, because whatever you want to do, it's already there. Like I managed restaurants for 20 years, but I knew I wanted to do something fitness related. Like I'm actually sitting in a gym right now, but I knew I wanted to do something fitness related, and I knew I wanted, like growing up, I wanted to be on TV. So at least now doing this, like I own this platform. Like
Yeah.
this cannot be taken from me. I'm not working for anybody else. I can say what I want to say. I can be my authentic self and not have to worry about the producers in my ear. I mean, like, oh, you can't say that. You can't talk about that. I can talk about whatever I want to now. But it was already there. You know, I
Yes.
had to refine the skills, but I didn't have to uncover anything new.
Yeah. I am just such an advocate of that. I truly believe that every experience, learning, whatever that we have been through has continually prepared us for where we are in the moment. So if
Yeah.
you look back on your life and you do like a timeline and identify the kind of important things in your life, it becomes clear that what you need right now, you already can handle and often have handled it in the past.
Yeah. You know, we live in such an amazing time. You don't even have to have talent and you can be successful.
That's right.
Right?
That's
I
right.
see people with YouTube channels who do the dumbest things on earth and they have millions of followers and they have all these sponsors. It's like we live in that good of a time where you can have zero talent
That's
and
right.
be successful.
That is
Oh.
absolutely true.
All right.
And it's
Thinking I
mindset.
go ahead. Yes.
Mindset is such a huge piece of it. And then, when I'm working with people who have experienced a significant loss, their mindset is often one of, oh, this is never going to change. And so we have to go into, what are my self-limiting beliefs? What am I telling myself? What's going on with my perspective of this situation? So there's an awful lot that needs to be done psychologically for people. It's not that people are sick. It's just that we get caught in these routines and things we believe, from our environment, our parents, our growing up, everything we experience.
Yeah, and we have to take ownership of that. See, because
Yeah.
like a lot of people get stuck on the hamster wheel because they're just not truthful with themselves. It's like, all right, this is what I went
Bingo.
through. Like, like I have five kids, and I've made a lot of mistakes with my kids. You know, and I can face them. I'm like, you know what? Maybe I was too hard on you. You know, maybe I said things to you that I shouldn't have said. Because I mean, I grew up with the baby boomers. You know, it's like we weren't allowed to feel. It's like, right, what are you crying for? You know, and then you
That's
kind of
right.
put that on your kids. But the world is completely different now. So now I look back to my parenting style, and I was like, like maybe I was too harsh. You know, and but you have to just accept it. Like I'm not gonna go back and try to act like, nah, that's just you. That's just how you're internalizing it. It's like, no, maybe I was a little too harsh in my tyrannical 20s, you know, but ownership is key.
Yeah, absolutely it is, because it hits our the essence of who we are. And when we can get that all aligned with our beliefs and our values and our purpose, then we can really accomplish things in our lifetime.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Again, when I'm working with people, because I work with people in story creation. So like I don't have a medical background, but I've been alive for 50 years. You know, I've seen a good chunk of stuff in my time on this earth so far. And I've been through a lot myself. Like as I mentioned, I watched my father pass away. I've been through divorce. I've been through losing everything and living in hotels. Like I've been through all of that stuff, and I bounced back from all of that stuff. You know, so I work with people from the storytelling perspective. All right, like this is what happened to you. Now let's walk through it so they can reconcile their stories and get that
Mhm.
clarity that they need so they can move forward with purpose. So do you have like a system or a framework that you use when you're working with people?
I do. I had suffered the loss of my mother, my little brother, and my husband all within 2.5 years' time.
Wow.
And that was like a triple whammy.
Yeah.
And I was down and out for a while, that's for sure. And
Mm.
as I started to recover, I realized I was using some of the tools and techniques that I had used all along in my professional career in coaching and human development and behavior change and so forth. And so I really took a good look at that and put together some pieces that have formed an incredible difference in people's lives. And people usually in the grief process, they think that they're all better when they can manage their emotions pretty well, but it's not enough. And so I take them from there and move them through a process. We talked about the mental alignment and stuff, but also I help them study flow. When they're in flow, what are they doing at a very small, tiny level? How are they doing it? What are they doing? How are they doing it? What's in their environment that's supporting them being in flow? And then we take all of the information we've brought together, help them figure out their new identity, who they really are and want to be and show up as, and create a roadmap into their new life and actually step into it and start living a purposeful, vibrant, rewarding life.
Absolutely. So let's lean into grief, because grief is one of the things that a lot of people struggle with. So when you had your first loss, just take me through how you picked up the pieces, like the first hour of finding out. What was that hour like?
Well, I was with my mother when she passed. And my little brother and his wife were there. My husband was there. And one of my daughters, one of the grandchildren, had been able to be there. And I mean, it was clear that she was dying. And we had been just talking to her and telling her it was okay to let go. She had hurt herself extremely badly and there was no recovery from it. And so, when the last breath came, it was such a weird sensation of, well, it's over. She's gone. She's not in pain anymore. And, we all hugged each other. We were crying and all that sort of thing. And then I guess I shifted into get it done gear and went and got the nurses, and that's kind of, speaking of baby boomers, it's just do it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was raised that way too. You've got responsibility, take care of it. Doesn't matter how you feel, get it done. And so, you become numb very, very quickly.
Yeah.
And that brain fog steps in because your brain is going, wait a minute, what's going on? This person took up this space in my entity's life, and now that person's gone. Our whole map of who you are, who you're being, and what it's like to be you is changing. So your brain immediately rewires itself to try to protect you.
Yeah, like when my dad passed, like he had stage 4 heart failure, and so he had open heart surgery, and he was doing pretty well for a minute there, and the doctors are thinking he like struggled or coughed or something, and he popped something inside, so they opened him up again, but this time they left him open. Obviously he was covered, but
Right.
like you could
Sure.
see the rib cage was open.
Yeah.
So it was at that moment where I started preparing for his death, because I was like, I don't think he's coming back from this. It's like, why did they leave his chest open? So I started mentally preparing then, and like I remember we were in the cafeteria of the hospital, and like my sister, my niece, my mom, they're all like, when he wakes up, when he wakes up. I was like, guys, we gotta have a serious conversation here. What if he doesn't? I'm like, that's a real possibility. Like, and I am I'm an eternal optimist. I am all about positivity. But just in that moment, I just felt like this is it. Like, this is his time. He was 79. And he, honestly, he would have sucked as an old man. Right? Because he's a, right? It's like, he's an engineer, and he always said, when I can't build anymore, that's going to be my time to go. And the illness, like, he lost a lot of weight, he lost a lot of strength. Like, fortunately, I got to see him a lot in that last year, because I only lived 35 minutes away. So whenever he needed help, I would come down and help him. Like, my daughter and I would go down and we'd help him. But just seeing him as a shell of himself, like, he actually went when he was supposed to go. So It was a good thing. So I just started leaning into that gratitude. So now,
yes,
I want to shift it back to you. Were you able to find gratitude in those early moments? Because I know for a lot of people it comes later, but in those early moments, were you able to get to that place of gratitude?
It was, in a way. She was 106 years old. So,
oh wow,
yeah. So it had been clear to me for several years that she was pretty much marking time, although she was totally with it, and quite a beacon in the retirement community she was in, because she was up and about and doing all sorts of things. But I visited her most every day, and she said, well, what I do best is sleep. And, she was sleeping a lot, and she was starting to not want to eat too much and all of those sorts of things. And so, I mean, you have to be somewhat prepared when someone has reached that age. But so the gratitude was around realizing that she didn't have to strive anymore, and that she was at peace. And in my belief, she had reunited with my dad. And because the night before she fell, and the night before that happened, she was out in the middle of the night looking for him. So I think there's something, in there that she kind of knew, but she fell and hurt herself so badly that she had to be put on morphine for the last 2.5 days. Yeah. But that little bit of relief, and then your mind goes, you shouldn't feel that way. You feel guilty, but you've got to stop and say, wait a minute. Think about this person's lifestyle. Think about how they had been in their life. She was an Olympic diver. She was very active. And the last 4 years or so, she couldn't be very active. And so, I try to look at it that way. And, the hurt is very real and very deep. Yes. But that's about us.
Yep. I say that all the time too. Because, again, my dad always said, when he can't build, that's it. So when he died in November of 2019. So he just missed the 2020 craziness, because had he survived into that, it would have been even worse for him. But we had 3 generations of us, of family around him. They unsedated him enough to where he could hear us. Like, he couldn't talk. He had tubes all in his nose and his mouth and everything. So, but he could shake his head yes, like he could shake his head no. And so we all got to come over, say our final words to him, give him a hug, tell him we love him. And it's like, I'll never unsee the final 40 seconds, because once they turned off the machine, really, he died in 45 seconds. It was so fast. But just watching it, I can still kind of see it in slow motion.
Oh, and yeah.
I'm making it sound good, but I'm fighting back the tears, because it's a moment you'll never unsee. But then you have to think about, now this is for me personally. I've interviewed people on this podcast that have never met their father. I was 45 when mine passed. I was like, I got 45 years of memories of life lessons. There's videos of him on YouTube, so I can actually go back and see him. I can hear his voice if I want to. Go back to old old family reunions, and that's where that gratitude kicked in. Because of course, in the initial moment, we were all crying, bawling like babies. But
Sure.
but again, it's like because we were thinking about our personal loss.
That's
To
right.
your point, it's like
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
not gonna have him anymore, rather than he's not hurting anymore.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And that's just so true. And I think that so many people have such a difficult time letting go and letting it be. And through the grief process, some people just hang on to that and hang on to it so that their grief is so extended that it can become a physical and a mental issue.
Yes.
There's such a thing now. They're actually calling broken heart syndrome,
Yep.
and prolonged grief is a diagnosis too.
Absolutely. See, and that goes back to who you are at your core, because we have to understand death's coming for all of us. It's like this isn't new, right? Death is a part of life.
Right.
So we like my niece. Every now and then she pops on the live stream, but my niece, she lost her son at 2. At 2, he
Oof.
had leukemia. And I told her, I was like, listen, but you still had 2 years. Like there's a woman out there that can't have a kid right now, that she can't have one. I mean, you got 2 years. It's like you can't worry about what coulda, woulda, shoulda. Like lean into all the memories of the time that you had.
Right.
You know, and it's hard for people to get to that place. So when you're working with people, how do you help them navigate through the 7 stages of grief?
Well, I do that, but now I primarily work with people who've gotten through to the point where they can manage their emotions, because I need to work with them when the brain fog has lifted and they can make important decisions for their lives. So, hopefully they're in the position where they're now letting go, seeing that there is possibility, not wanting to stay where they are, wanting something better. But to answer your question, I think it's important to work with people around, looking at the times they've succeeded in overcoming things, so they know they've got what it takes to do it.
Yeah.
But also helping them get their mind around the fact that you don't have to leave this behind. Your love is never going to disappear.
Yes.
Let's find ways to look at your life with this person and honor it and create a way to carry that forward with you, so that there's a fear, oh, if I move forward I'll forget this person, or I'll be disloyal, or all of those things. And so I think that's a fundamental thing, and it's for many people it's shifting beliefs.
Yes. So I used to train this guy. He lost his son when he was 9, right? When his son was 9. And
Yeah.
so we were at a class, we were doing a holiday boot camp, and I saw him up against the wall with his head on his hand. So I was like, all right, I said, let me give him a minute to feel what he's feeling. And so I let that time go by, and he's still on the wall. So I go over to him, I put my arm around him. I was like, hey, I'm like, what's up? And he's weeping a little. He's like, I just miss him so much. He's like, it just hit me right now. And I was like, do you think he can see you? And so he paused for a second, and he looks at me. He's like, yeah. He's like, I think he can. He's like, do you think he wants to see you leaning up against the wall right now? And again, he paused. He's like, no. I said, no. I said his dad is a badass. Let him see that badass shine right now. And so he gets back into the class, and he finishes the workout. Then he comes up to me afterwards, and he was like, thank you for that. He's like, I really, really needed that. So sometimes it's just a little reframe. Like on those days when I miss my dad, I just go back to a memory. Something that he said that was foolish, something he said that was great, his funny one-liners, his habits, and I get back into those moments. And to your point, the feelings are still there.
Oh yeah.
And it just brings it, and that's what helps me get through it, is to just circle back to those times, like play one of his favorite songs. Like he loved Smokey Robinson back in the day. They put on a Smokey Robinson song, and I could see him in his in his rocking chair with his beer, just tapping his feet as he's singing, and like see how it lit me up.
Yeah.
Like just talking
It's
about
there.
Those moments. It helps.
Yeah.
It really helps.
And I think that brings up in my mind, that doesn't work in the very beginning. And one of the things that I'm trying to do is also to break down the taboo in our society around this whole subject of bereavement and death and grief. And, I think that so many times early on, a person is so raw. There's not much you can say that's going to help them. So we need to learn to be quiet and be there for people and not say things like, well, he's in a better place, or, that's not what the person wants to hear. They're hurting so bad. They don't want to hear that. They want that person back. So it's not helpful. So if we can just learn, and it's a two-way street, those grieving need to learn how to teach their family and friends to treat them in the way that they need to be treated in the moment. Yes. And then we need to work with those of us who are not grieving and teach, what can you say? What can you do that's going to be supportive? And you don't say things lots of times because you're afraid you're going to say the wrong thing. So let's learn the right thing. Let's learn the right thing to do. So I think that there's, part of all the stages is becoming more and more aware and accepting.
Yes. And anytime I've made a point so far in this episode, I always say that's what works for me. Because like my brother, right? Same dad, right? My brother, he didn't take it the way I took it. Like he went down into a dark place. But I also had more time with that because he lives in New Jersey. So like I was down at the house pretty much every weekend, helping out. So like I didn't have any regrets. Like I should have called more, I should have showed up more. Like I saw my parents all the time, so I didn't have that. But I think he did, and he felt a lot of guilt. And just because I was able to get to that place of gratitude, like I can't force that on him to be like, hey, look, this is what I'm doing, but storytelling is everything. Like going back to Brian and painting that picture instead of saying, hey, get off the wall and just go work out. It was like just painting the picture. Like your son can see you right now. Like give him something to be proud of. Like that's not invalidating his feelings at all. It's just like, if you truly believe that he can see you, give him something to be proud of.
I think that redirection is really important. One of the things that helped my family was that before the first holiday, and then after on birthdays and that kind of stuff, we often did this. I gave everybody a little mason jar about 3 weeks beforehand. And I said, think about Grandpa. Think about the times when he said something you thought was funny, or that you really thought was important or liked, or something you did together or whatever. Write it down on a slip of paper and put it in the jar. And then on Christmas Day, we all brought our jars and everybody took turns taking pieces out and reading them. And it turned out to be the best cathartic thing we could do. It was healing. People were laughing. Oh yeah, I remember that. And then he did this. And that is so important because it helps you release some of the energy that you've got, stored up, but it also helps you remember the positive things and the joy that you experienced together. And I believe that helping a family grieve together is very important.
Yeah, like when my dad was 70, we had a family reunion and we actually did a live eulogy for him, right? This was actually my idea, because I was like, why are we going to wait till he's dead to say all these nice things about it? Like, why don't we tell him while he's here? right?
Yeah.
Tell him while he's here. So at one point in the reunion, he didn't know we were gonna do this. Like we had a cake for him and everything, and he's like, "Why are you guys trying to kill me?" I was like, that's not it. I was like, we just want to tell you while you're here. It's like nobody knows when their last day is, I said, so we just want to tell you now. And so everybody came over, grabbed the microphone, and we all said what we felt about Dad.
Yeah.
The dad was definitely the patriarch of the family, even the extended family. Like when Dad spoke, everybody shut up and listened. Like he had that kind of cachet about him,
That's cool. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I just thought that was very important that we tell him while he's here. Like people say the best things after people pass.
That's true. And then what I'd like to offer your audience is I've got a couple things they can download, which I will send to you, and you can put on, post for them to download. One of them is about what you need to have in place. It's hard, and we know it's hard. It's hard to talk about, what's going to happen when you die, what's going to happen when I die. But you have to have some things in place. Because if you don't, I'll tell you, my sister-in-law could not get into my brother's computer because he had some special things. He was in the finance field. And so he had special precautions. His son is a computer guru, and it took him 3 whole weeks to get in to that computer. And the thing is that you're immediately asked, for proof of death, for this, for that, for the finances, for insurance. And you need to know where those things are because your brain is not working. And so, and you need to think about, what about the kids? What are you going to do with your money? On and on and on. So I'd love to just send that because I think that, a lot of people don't realize how important that is. When you don't have what you need and you're hurting so badly, it's horrible.
Yeah, like I believe my mom said it was probably a solid 30 days before it actually hit her that Dad was gone because there was just so much. To your point, with the credit cards and with everything, just going through everything. It was just busy. And so I said earlier, he was an engineer, which means he was a pack rat, right? This man had so much stuff in his garage. Like he has 3 sections in a garage because he just kept expanding it over the years. So we got 3 sections in his garage, and there was just stuff everywhere. Like we literally had like yard sales, garage sales for 6 solid weeks, every weekend for 6 weeks. Wow. And we kept a lot of stuff too, but that's how much stuff we had. I think we had 11,000 pounds of scrap metal. So
oh my goodness gracious.
We were just busy every single day cleaning the yard. And so like once, because like my cousins came up and stayed the month for my mom. My brother came up from Florida for a while. So she didn't really have that alone time to just process. And I think at one point I had said to her, I think this is maybe 2 weeks after his death. I said to her, I was like, how are you? I like, how are you? Like, you got to make sure you sit on the deck, grab a cocktail and just process what just happened, because right from his death, she just went straight to work. But
exactly. And that's kind of numbing. And you feel like it's so hard to process at that point that you tend to get yourself really busy or hide. You want to stay in bed and pull the covers up over your head and just pretend like it didn't happen. And I think that's very, very common for people.
Yeah, like so she and I were talking the other day, my mom and I, and I said to her, I was like, why don't you travel? I'm like, you're mostly retired. Like she cooks at a senior center on 2 days a week, but she's pretty much retired. And she's like, you want me to be honest? I was like, yeah. She's like, I don't know how to navigate any of that. She's like, your father took care of all of that.
Yes.
And I was like, well, you have us kids. Tell us where you want to go and we'll get on the sites. We'll find the flights, we'll find the Airbnb and all that other stuff. But she just like, I mean, she was a teenager when she got together with my dad, and they were together 53 years. So it's like, that's all she knows.
Yeah. Well, and people in my generation, your mother's generation, pretty much the dad took care of the finances and the insurance and all of those things. And so you do feel like, holy cow, what do I
Yeah.
do? What bills do I owe? Who are we? And it's very, very confusing and takes a lot of time to figure out. And we tend to not want to bother our kids because they have their lives. We don't want to impose, and that's a bad it's a self-limiting belief because the kids they want to help, but yes, they do have their lives to live and they have their own children and so on and so forth. But people do want to help. They just need to know what you need.
Yeah, true. Yeah, like I live with my mom now, myself and my oldest daughter. We live there because she needs help. She needs help. There's a lot of decent sized house, but there's a lot of land. There's like a lot of leaves. When it snows, that's a long driveway. Like, and she can't be out there doing all that stuff by herself. Right. But I still make sure I give her plenty of space. I mean, I work a lot anyway. Like, I do so many things in the course of a day, so I'm out of the house more than I'm in the house. But when I am there, the things that she needs done, I can take care of it for her. She doesn't have to worry about putting the trash out or pretty much anything outside. I take care of all that. If she needs stuff from downstairs, like, she can go down there, but if we're home, it's better for her knees. Like, she just had knee replacement a year ago, so either myself or my daughter will transport the things up and down for her. So when her time comes, like, I'm not gonna have any regrets because I see her all the time. When people are like, oh, you live with your mom, I'm like, yeah, I do, and I have zero shame about living with the woman that gave me life. Like, right. I pay half the bills there, so it's like I'm not freeloading. I'm there now because she needs me. Well, not that she needs me, but it's better for her. Yeah. If I'm there to just deal with that stuff.
She needs that support.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. You get overwhelmed, and anyway, during the grieving process and the recovery process, you might get to the point where you can really regulate your emotions, but there's still times when out of the blue, this huge, all-encompassing wave comes crashing down on you, and you need to be aware of that and have a support set up, because it just knocks you crazy for a few minutes or even longer.
Yes.
And you don't know what it's going to be. It could be anything.
That's true. That's facts. Like, I have better control over it now, but I'd say maybe the first year, maybe going into like year 2. Actually, no, I'm sorry. This was year 3. Like, I thought I was out of the woods. Like, I thought everything was good. And I do obstacle races with my gym members here. And so we were down in Jacksonville, Florida. And so one of the women that was with us, I knew her dad was sick. So we're down there, and she gets the phone call that that doesn't have much time left. But listening to her on that phone call reignited it in me when my sister called me, because I wasn't going to go to the hospital that day because I had gone all weekend. I was like, I'm going to take today off. It was a Monday. And my sister called me to tell me that we're going to be ending care that day. Yeah, we're going to be ending care that day. And so just listening to her, like, I had to go out front and have my moment, because I didn't want to take away from what she had going on. But I was like, I thought I was past that. But just hearing her on the phone, it shot right back. So to your point, it doesn't really go away. You just learn how to manage it.
No, and you're not aware of what the triggers will be. It's just one of those things, and you do have to be prepared for it. But when it hits, it really hits you. So, yes. That's part of the process. We have to understand that we never truly get over it, and life will never be exactly the same, but we can create something that is wonderful and that we will love and that supports us and supports those around us.
So we did our final family reunion this past August. What is that?
Now, wait, hold on just a second. The Navy is very busy and the fighter jets are going right over my house.
Oh,
I
okay.
can't hear you.
I thought so. I was like, what is happening right now?
Yeah, they almost buzzed the house.
Yeah, so
But as you can imagine,
for
they've
our
gotten
last
very
family
busy.
reunion, my sister actually. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I see that. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear
Oh
me?
okay. Oh
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my sister made a yes. Yeah. So my sister made a life-size cutout of my dad. So for the reunions, he built what we call the outdoor inn. So just like a covered just like a covered area on the patio.
Uh-huh.
And like that was always dad's domain, and so we put that life-size cutout in the outdoor inn. So it's like whenever we want to see him, there he is. He's right there. Just getting creative ways like that to just keep the memory alive. Like I said, if
Right.
you just actually want to see him, it's so scaringly real. But it's
Yeah.
awesome.
Well, I think everybody comes to the point where they realize that they need to change their traditions. They need to do some different things that are going to support them and the family, moving. I don't want to say moving on, because you don't move on. You don't forget, but move forward. And,
Yes.
when we think about it, of course, our loved one doesn't want us to spend the rest of our life pining and being unhappy, and, but find ways that will still honor that person, and that, they would have enjoyed doing too.
Yeah,
Make
and
those
like yes, like my mom said that this is gonna be that was the final reunion, because like that was dad's thing. Like he
Yeah.
looked forward to that every single year, and we hadn't done one actually since I moved back in with mom, because like this was in 2023. Yes, yeah, so early 23. And I spent the first 3 weeks just clearing out the yard, because we live in the woods. So there was like 3 years worth of leaves that had to be cleaned up, right? So once the yard was clean, mom was like, that was the biggest thing keeping me from doing another reunion. She's like, I didn't want to do all that cleanup. She's like, but since you cleaned it all, we can plan one for 2024. I was like, all right. But I think during the actual reunion, because dad looked forward to that I think it was too much for her. So like she called everyone to the backyard, and she was teary eyed, and she's like, she's like, this is the last one. I just think it was just too much for her. So to your point about changing traditions, so I think we're gonna shift gears moving forward, because the rest of us were like, well, like we can run it. You don't even have to run it. So, but it wasn't even about that. I would just think her experiencing that without him there was just too much.
Yeah, I went through that the first holidays. It was like I had always done the big fancy dinner and sit down dinner for everybody, and 16 or 20 of us, and I just said to my 3 daughters, guys, I cannot do that and sit and look at that empty chair at the other end of the I just can't do it. And so we got everybody together. So, okay, so what do we want to do that's different? And they said, well, let's just have like make your own sandwiches, and we're going to hang out, and we're going to open presents, and we're just going to have fun. And it has turned out to be a great difference, because nobody, well, the kids didn't really care about the big dinner anyway. It was pretty much adults. So, find something the whole family can love and enjoy and feel a part of.
Love that. All right, so we got a few minutes left here. Is there something you wanna talk on that we haven't covered yet?
I think life transitions are much easier to navigate if you know who you are, and if you can get in touch with not only your strengths, but the things you've been through. Because as we started out saying, you have everything you need. You are fully equipped. Much of the problem of moving on or forward is you don't have a clue how to do it. And so, find someone who's truly trained and knows what they're doing to take you by the hand and walk you through the process. You don't have to do it alone. You shouldn't have to do it alone. I believe every single one of us deserves to live a life that we love. And, find a professional that will help you.
Love that. So I have nothing else to add to that. You covered it all quite nicely. So let people, well, actually, I have all of your links in the description section already. But anyway, just tell people where they can find you.
You can find me on LinkedIn, and you can find me on Facebook. And I have pages on each of them called Widows Rising Together, which I'm about to change the name of my business because the guys are saying, wait a minute, what about us? And, and I do much more than widows. I do trauma. I do loss of job, loss of, anything that where you have kind of lost your identity because that was such a big part of you. And that's one of the things that throws us for a loop. So I can be reached on those outlets. And I think that you can probably find me on my website, which is app.widows.com, widowsrisingtogether.com. Sorry about that.
Gotcha. See, I should have you come back and we do a full episode on reclaiming your identity. So I think we could have a solid discussion about that.
Oh, yeah.
That one's huge because I think we mentioned this 45 minutes ago. That's what derails a lot of people because they're not defined at their core. So if you're interested in that, I'll send you the rebooking link.
Sure,
and, we'll get you back on and we'll talk about that.
Yeah, because that hits people when they retire. Oh, I'm not needed anymore. Nobody's calling me. It happens when you lose a job. Well, who am I now? Happens when you lose a family member. It just, a friend.
Veterans.
It's so many things.
Yes. Yeah. I've interviewed, I don't know, countless veterans on this show that say that once they get, discharged from the service, that they're like the last 20, 30 years of my life, we were focused on a mission and they're like, what is there now?
Yeah.
So a lot of them experience that. Yeah. So we can definitely get that scheduled, but thank you very much for taking the time. I really enjoyed talking with you, hearing your perspective and your stories. And I'm sure the audience is going to get a lot of it as well. So
thank you. And I enjoyed it too. We got into some good stuff. Thank you.
Yeah, we did. All right. Take care.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to Shut Up and Grind. We hope you've gotten some useful and practical information from this show. Robert has over 20 years experience pouring his knowledge and expertise at many events in the service and fitness industry, as well as secondary schools and universities. He has a true passion for helping others break through the barriers that are holding them back. To book Robert B. Foster to speak or to reach out, go to robertbfoster.com. Till next time, shut up and grind.